we sometimes go up against Greys because they do interact with humans in the spirit realm as well. We will dissuade them and block them, but we won't hurt them because we see them as just as much victims of reptilian manipulation as humans can be and have been in the past.
Now, let me ask you, what kind of manipulation has the reptilians been involved with here on Earth, and how has that affected our lives?
To the best of my knowledge, they have been interacting and manipulating with us at a spiritual level, at a genetic level. They've modified certain bloodlines. Some of them have been physically present on this planet in a three-dimensional body, which they then use to interfere with humans physically. They have also been involved in our politics and governance systems, not always directly, but via possession and via their own bloodlines that they've tampered with. I'm very much against it. It leaves me rather angry, and it provokes a lot of rage in me to hear when they've violated sovereignty and personal sanctity to that extent. They see us as cattle.
What was the Silver Legion's role in the war that I understand that the Andromeda Council was engaged in a war to take out the reptilian bases here on Earth? Can I describe the Silver Legion's role or mission in that war?
Okay, we came late to the table to start doing stuff with the undersea bases. That, and we can't do much on the physical level, but there were non-physical fourth dimensional aspects to those facilities, and we did assist with destroying those.
Okay.
We also participated in a defense exercise when, in retaliation for the destruction of one of the physical 3D bases here on Earth, the Draco Reptilians launched a 50-ship warship strike against the Andromeda Council biospheres that are in the near solar system, and we basically popped into those ships, directly onto those ships, and messed them up. We tried to prevent them from attacking, and were successful in that. We destroyed or caused to be self-destructed 30 ships and took 5, and this is a tricky thing to do because one of the things that the Draco are very, very concerned of is keeping their technology out of the hands of those they don't want to have it. So typically, if they feel that a ship is threatened, other ships nearby will initiate self-destruct from outside. They don't particularly care if they have casualties. They're more concerned about keeping it out of the hands of ours or anyone else. But we managed to circumvent that self-destruct sequence and take 5 ships.
How many members of the Silver Legion was involved in this particular mission?
There was a team of 100 for each ship. So that's 50 ships, 5,000 members, most of which were humanoid or smaller exotics, because they need to be able to fit on the ship and interact with the infrastructure that was designed for bipedal beings. Everybody had to be decontaminated when they came back. Many were injured and had to be healed, and 800 went back to source. We don't die per se, but sometimes our spirit bodies can take enough damage that we can't sustain our presence in the spirit realm, and we go back to God, where we rest and recover and then come back later. We have a way, when they're within source, you can't communicate with them. They're inaccessible to us. But there is a window of opportunity when they just go back where you can spend the energy to bring them back as a spirit body and bring them back into the spirit realm from source. They have the opportunity to opt in or refuse. 99.9 repeating will generally opt in. Some will say, no, I need to rest, let me be. And then we respect that. We grieve for them, but we know they will be back, so it's not a big deal. We managed to bring back all but one of those warriors who were sent back to source.
Okay. Now, explain some of the warriors that came back had what you call leeches on them. Explain leeches and what they are.
Parasites. They were parasites, and the reptilians make heavy use of parasites that they have genetically engineered in not only in the physical world, there are some that have had physical parasite experiences with the reptilians, and I can't comment too much on that other than to say it happens. But also non-physical parasites, which they attach themselves to the spirit body of a person. They burrow in, they incorporate themselves. As the reptilians refer to them as symbionts. We disagree. We call them parasites. They attempt to modify the behavior of that person. Sometimes they enhance that person. There's been instances where somebody was parasited and the parasite made them stronger, faster, and less able to understand that they'd been co-opted. They use parasites to negate or reduce free will. So on the ships, they use a lot of parasites because if they don't, there might be a mutiny. At the first opportunity of backstabbing and self-advancement, it'll go on. So they use parasites on warships to keep control. And that was something that everybody who boarded the warships had to deal with as well, was that infestation of parasites. And that meant we had to act fast. And that also meant that we had to have what were essentially dead man switches that transported them back automatically to our medical quarters, whether they intended to or not, once they reached a certain point of not having will, so that we could then treat them for the parasites.
Explain your work with energy and what the future has in store.
Well, I work with energy in two aspects. I work with human ki or chi here on Earth as a physical embodied human. And these I use techniques. Some people use Reiki. I use Tai Chi, and I use also ley line energy. And I also work with energy outside of my human body. Now, some people consider the concept of a higher self to be almost like a separate being. I don't experience the same separation with my higher self. Instead, what I experience is myself as a fragment of a greater whole, my physical self as a fragment of a greater whole. And when I sleep, I rejoin with that fragment, and as a whole, I act as a whole being.
Okay. And tell us a little bit about your website.
Well, I got the idea to make the website after a friend suggested it, and at first I thought, what, me, website? No, they'll be laughing their butts off out there. Then it occurred to me that it really doesn't matter if there's people out there who don't believe me, that, they're entitled to that disbelief. The information will find those who need it and those who want it, and it will be useful to some, and those are the ones for whom I wrote the website. You
know what? You just hit the nail on the head, because there would be people like me who found it. I found it. Mm-hmm. And, the information intrigued me. And like I say, when you know something is true, it rings true within you.
Yes, and it would be wrong of me to deny that information to the people who need it or could use it simply because I have a human fear of ridicule.
Yeah, I understand that.
So I had to set ego aside and just step out and do it.
Yes, and you did it today. And I'm really proud of what you've done. Give the people your website, how to get to your website, and how they can contact you.
I thank you. My website is www.silverlegion, that's SILVERLEGION.org. It is not a .com. We do not, just for the record, we don't take donations. Feel free to visit. There's a number of pages there that get updated periodically. The one that's the most active is the updates page, which contains a small blog. I don't blog every day, but I will make announcements of YouTube postings or radio shows there, and sometimes just information.
Tanaath belongs to the Silver Legion, and the Silver Legion is fighting on our behalf. This is what we're talking about when we say love. This is a group of entities that's fighting for our well-being, and yet we know not who they are. And getting back to one of the things that I have to say, I've got to give a shout out to the Dragon people. How the Dragon people do it?
Well, when we were recovering human souls, we recovered a lot of enslaved dragon souls. And I've taken them, and other dragons have taken them to our home dimension, I guess you could call it. where we've been involved in a lot of trauma recovery and healing. Some of those dragons had Stockholm syndrome, and that's really hard to deal with. The ones who didn't are pretty gung-ho about killing reptilians as fast as they can. However, we need to make sure that they're not going to get caught again and not going to get themselves killed. So there's a lot of training going on, and there's a lot of healing going on, and the draconic nations are intensely involved in helping these recovered people heal from this.
How many different types of Draco reptilians are there?
Well, they color code. It's very convenient for us.
Okay.
I know of several main color groups. The white ones, silver ones, and gray ones are Draco nobility. Sometimes these have wings. Usually they don't. They're typically between 8 and 12 feet tall, heavily muscled, tough in a fight. These are the ones who call the shots and make all the rules as far as the rest of the Draco are concerned. Beneath them, we have the specialized color groups, the castes. Black scales are the assassins. Green scales are, I guess you could call them regenerators. If you chop the head off a green scale, they will regenerate the body, not the head, the body, within minutes, if not seconds. The blue ones are the shapeshifters, and they are the only true shapeshifters among the Draco. Everybody talks about reptilian shapeshifters. Sorry, there are not that many blue scales running around. Specifically, not that many blue scales physically on this planet.
So
instead, what you're seeing is a breakdown of the hologram, or even just leak through from the non-physical realm.
now you just mentioned the hologram, because the holographic technology, I understand that some of it is so detailed that you would not know that you were looking at a hologram.
Oh, yeah. Some of them are even solid. The universe is holographic. When you understand this, you can learn how to understand how to manipulate reality itself.
Are there any holograms that are in government?
Usually what they choose for that instead is clones, or I guess you could call them biodroids. Holograms are problematic because the military does have technology to disrupt holograms.
Droids. So there are some of those. Now, are they more robotic in a sense? The ones that are placed in governments?
Organic robots. Organic in terms of the fact that they have organic parts and organic bodies that function very much like our bodies do. Robot in terms of the fact that the driving force behind their activity is artificial. It's simulated. It's not a true consciousness with a true spirit and soul behind it.
One of the ones that I had heard was, I don't know, and you don't have to confirm this, but I know that there was talk out there that I think his name Ahmadinejad, the one in Iran, was
Ahmadinejad?
Yeah, Ahmadinejad was one such. I don't know if that's true or not, but there was talk that he was one of those organic robots.
Yeah.
And so
they're fairly common in certain areas and certain positions.
And so we do have these organic robots that are in power. Let me ask you, are they consciously aware of the fact that they're not human or that they're an organic robot? Or do they function much like, I know they function much like us, but do they think that they are real?
They think that they're real. A lot of times, yeah, they don't know that they're different.